I actually might ruin Chicago with this. Hang on.
I'd like to take a moment and address that topic and really set the record straight. As we all know, all 30 major league owners voted 30-0 to approve the collective bargaining agreement, or rather to ratify that agreement. When we ratified that agreement, I think it became very evident that this is an agreement that has an increase in salary for pre-arbitration players. It has a bonus pool that was added for some of our brightest young players. And importantly, it has an increase in the collective bargaining tax threshold. So
that was Chris Ilitch there as he was talking to the press yesterday in regards to his vote that came out that apparently he did not vote. It was 30-0. And so it sounded like he was doing some straining to do some explaining, as the great Ned Flanders would once say. Welcome to another episode of Tigers Radio here at MotorCityBengals.com. I am Roy Heller, alongside Miss Chris Brown and Uper. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartMedia, Stitcher, and Google Play. And if you can, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. There's two things I want to get out of the way real quick. I want to thank our two newest Patreon members, Charlie and Elizabeth. Now, Charlie, by the way, for our special guest this evening, has left you guys, what is it called, Chris? Is it alliteration question?
Oh yeah, he does. He likes to do those extremely alliterative questions that, his is with Lance Len, so it's all L's.
Yeah, so be prepared for that, and he's a really good listener. And then Elizabeth, who actually lives in Chicago, who doesn't listen to the podcast, but she does like when I sync up the Dan Dickerson audio after a home run, she likes that. So either way, we're grateful for being subscribers. We have a Bo Brisky video that we'll be dropping for our members first thing tomorrow, or sometime tomorrow, Friday at some point. And I got a note today from an intern that I had for an independent station or independent site I ran for almost a decade, sportsradiodetroit.com. Her name is Batul, and she was a student over at University of Michigan Dearborn. She did a lot of production work and helped me editing shows, and she sent me a really fantastic note, and she got a job. I won't say where because she told me not to, but it's within, let's just say within baseball broadcasting. And she really sent a nice text to me. And it kind of ranks up there as like a dad moment for me. So now we have 3 interns who went through our internship program, learned how to do production, learned how to write, who have jobs in the broadcasting field, and I take a lot of pride for that. So, but Batul is a listener, so I just wanted to thank her. So, but tonight our guest is Crystal Keith and Janice. Please help me with your last name at the moment because I'm sputtering at the moment.
It's a Scurio.
Scurio. Okay, that's right. I was making sure. Who both work for various White Sox publications, and Crystal's work now can be found at Pitchers List. She did a really good article on Jackie Robinson. You can find at pitcherslist.com. And Janice has a new opportunity outside of baseball as she works on a Chicago Sky. Is it a podcast or a video cast?
It's both, actually.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a little bit of uncharted territory for me. I've never covered basketball before. So I just recently became just completely invested in the Chicago Sky this past year. So I am admittedly a bandwagoner, but my whole goal is to definitely hype up and grow more interest in the WNBA because I really love what they're doing over there. And yeah, I want to be a part of it and get more people into it. So yeah, that is my current new venture. So far I'm a double threat, baseball and basketball. I'll have to pick a third sport to cover maybe. I don't know.
Lacrosse, or not Blackhawk.
Yeah.
MMA.
MMA. Yeah, maybe that.
Maybe MMA is cool. I don't know. I feel like MMA is such a. I feel like everybody does an MMA podcast now. And I just made me imagining that. I don't know. But if you want to choose MMA, whatever. I don't know. I was trying to say, like, I don't know. There's just always different. All right, I'm digging myself a grave here, but that's not what I was trying to say. Do what you will. But Crystal and Janice were both in the Section 108 tournament. So, Crystal, you want to explain how it works? And then, Janice, there's some controversy behind your voting.
Well, I had controversy, too, with my voting.
Okay.
A little. It's really just a White Sox Twitter popularity contest run by the cool guys in Section 108. Beefloaf, Teresi, My Sox Summer, they kind of set this up every year, make this large bracket, and do daily Twitter polls throughout the whole thing, and they pin you up against some tough opponents. I had 3 pretty popular, pretty good guys I've been up against, and I've beat all 3 of them.
Nice.
So I am now in the final 4 or whatever, or something. I don't even know. So I'm back up tomorrow to take some votes. So everyone listening, please go vote for me. But yeah, so it's just kind of this cool little popularity thing. I mean, you get an award at the end. It was a squirrel trophy, but my opponent is keeping that because I actually ousted last year's champion yesterday.
Yeah, that was big. That was a huge, yeah. It was like a lot of us. For a lot of us, it was like their personal ALDS right there.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. You know, he won last year. He was the runner up the year before. He's got like a really big base himself, and this was my first year in it. So like I could be done now. Like that could have been my World Series, honestly. But
yeah, that like I would say Crystal is rookie of the year here. I feel as if there's like a lot of like Akil Badu parallels here. That's definitely Crystal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially because I like you had the protein shake. You're like energy shake, whatever this is, and you slammed it down. But Janice, I thought that you brought out the comedian again this year. Was it the same one from last year? I can't.
It's the same one from last year.
Okay.
Yeah, so I purchased a cameo from Westby, who is a Japanese-British comedian, and he's famous for doing these really crazy like naked TikToks where he'll cover his body with a tablecloth and just have like teacups covering his nether regions and his nipples, and then he'll just pull the tablecloth off and to reveal a message. So
I guess our backup plan is out of the question now.
So yeah, I reused that TikTok from last year just mainly because it's just too good not to. But the whole a lot of the byproduct of the 108 tournament is a lot of content creation, a lot of promotion. So you'll see people just make funny videos. You'll see a lot of like former White Sox stars just do these completely like uninspired endorsement videos. I think like I hired Scott Pasednik in mine about a few years ago, and he did a really nice job. I told him a few things about myself. I used to live in Texas. I was a huge fan of his when I was a teenager, and he did a really nice job. But we've seen other people like Joe Creedy endorsed a couple of people, Ozzie Guillen as well. But yeah, it's all in the name of content creation and having a good time. But yeah, I was defeated by my opponent today. A gentleman by the name of Billy. Billy reached out to me via DM, and I conceded. He's currently on the road with his family. I don't know where they're going. All I know is that like he's driving this big rig with like his 2 young children and his wife cross country or something. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but
Freedom Convoy.
Exactly. A freedom convoy. But anyway, hats off to Billy. He advances. I am drinking a Fairlife protein shake here. So in kind of in the same vein as Crystal, I decided to shotgun a Celsius energy drink.
Those are so good, by the way.
Yeah, they are. They're absolutely fantastic. Just mainly because a lot of people in the tournament have been shotgunning beers. I currently can't drink for personal reasons, so I decided to, do an alternative and do the energy drink. And yeah, I think I'm a hummingbird now, so that's probably why I'm like.
We do not condone chugging or shotgunning energy drinks or protein shakes. It was a terrible time yesterday.
Well, at least it's
never gonna sleep again.
At least it's not one of those. Well, in Detroit, they have these really super ghetto energy drinks that I've never heard of that are like it seems like you only can find them in Detroit gas stations, and they're $1. And you look at them and you go, I don't know about that, and it just says like 90 grams of sugar, and it's like it's a cheap knockoff of Monster, but I've only seen them in those kind of gas stations, so I'm not sure if they had those in Chicago, but I know that the Celsius ones, the tropical, I think it's the tropical fruit, or the orange one is. The orange one's my favorite personally, but I also can't drink too much of those because of personal reasons. So it's if I do, and then I'm like a cocaine addict all up all night and stuff like that. But so I don't know, but I don't know about that life. So anyway, the one of the things that I really like about this tournament, by the way, is you guys talk about content creation. I love the fact that it's sponsored by Goose Island, and so probably why the wings and rings.
Yeah.
So I really like the Chicago culture in the sense of just how they embrace sports. And I talked to Sarah Sanchez a couple days ago. So I was asking her about how many people show up these meetups for baseball, and it's just like it's mind-boggling. And so, anyways, that's just such a cool thing. And even like I like the logo. It's just it has the Sox all over it, and hopefully, I mean, I don't know if do Cub fans do anything like this, or who cares?
Not really. Not that I know of.
Oh.
Yeah. Cubs Twitter is a pretty big force as well, but I don't think they're as organized as Sox Twitter is. There's a lot of crossover too. It's a lot friendlier between Cubs Twitter and Sox Twitter than one would actually assume. But I feel as if that there's like not there's not as much cohesiveness for sure.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, no, I remain envious of that scene. It looks really fun, and there's a lot of cool people, interesting people we've met over the last few years. And meanwhile, we've got, what did we have? We had Eric Wayne, former Phil Koch's brain, do like a 7-tweet thread of Tigers content writers as dogs.
Yeah.
It was cute, but there's not enough of us. And Rogelio and I missed it because I think both of our Twitter pictures are not like great. You know, mine's of my son, and Rogelio's is like backlit, so you can't really tell. But
yeah,
that's what we've got. We got no tournaments here.
Yeah, we have that, and we have. Although his account is pretty interesting because, in sense of like there's a lot of ripping on Matt Shepard, who's the TV guy for the Tigers, and a lot of people don't like him. And but yeah, I'm gonna. And for as far as Eric Wayne's concerned too, he did his Phil Koch account, it was quite popular, and so. But yeah, we don't. Yeah, that's about it. But I'm going to show everybody this dog tournament here because it is the writers. It's a fantastic.
You did a well job. A good job, yeah.
Here's our own Jacob.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love everything I see so far.
Yeah. So this
Where's
is
the Cody? I thought the Cody one's really good.
Yeah. The Jason Beck one got me.
Yeah. Yeah, solid.
This is a solid thread. Like those are some good dogs. Some good dogs, man. Oh, I love it.
Yeah. This is him at his finest, and he hosts a podcast called Podcastianos with a good friend of the show, Jacob Hall, and so yeah. So anyway, but yeah, let's get back into some baseball talk. A lot to get to with the White Sox in particular. There's a couple things that I wanted to kick off the show with, and in terms of I think it was today there was a report about Lucas Giolito, about the $50,000 difference, and I know that. Oh boy, I know that Jerry Reinsdorf is known as the guy who doesn't negotiate. Once you're negotiating, it's done, and so why are they stiffing him $50,000? I'm a little miffed by that.
Your guess is as good as mine. It's very mystifying to me that this is the ace of the rotation. He's certainly proven that. I feel as if he's certainly proven. The dude threw a no-hitter, for Christ's sake. I mean, 2021 was pretty shaky. Well, that's incorrect. He had a handful of shaky outings in 2021, but otherwise I thought he was solid. He's definitely projected to throw mid-3 ERA ball this year. He's been just on the money for me. The fact that he was, or at least the news came out that apparently the White Sox lowered their offer, and then Lucas asked for more money, and the difference was $50K. So his dad actually came out on Twitter and explained that, and it was all just very disheartening. And I don't know. It's very insulting, in my opinion, insulting to Lucas, and also, too, insulting to me as a fan, just because I feel as if Lucas has certainly earned what he's asking for. But, yeah, very disappointing to hear all around. The White Sox are also a team that doesn't, or at least historically, doesn't really sign pitchers to long-term contracts. So the news came out today that the White Sox did attempt to sign Giolito to think a 4-year, I think $50 million extension, which is also just as lowballing and just as insulting as well. But I don't know. Somehow this team somehow has the 5th highest, maybe now the 6th highest payroll in baseball. Now that I think the Phillies have leapfrogged the White Sox now, but yeah, this team somehow has the 5th highest payroll in baseball and still, won't lock down their most consistent starter. It's very frustrating.
I will say Jerry likes to pick and choose his teams because he owns the Bulls as well. And they were having a pretty great season. They got a lot of really great players recently. So I really think he just kind of picks and chooses what he wants to focus on, what he wants to spend money on. And it's a real bummer. Like Jana said, it's a bummer for Lucas. It's a bummer for fans, just anybody around, because he is the ace of that team. And that is pocket change, it's pennies and dimes for Jerry Reinsdorf. So it's really frustrating, especially when he deserves that and more. He deserves to be making more. So, it's just Jerry's cheap and it is so unbelievably frustrating. And if they're not going to pay any in free agency, then why can't they just give Lucas his money? And it's going to really suck when, he's on the Dodgers in like 2 years because they're pushing Lucas away. He's going to be somewhere else. Like, you just need to start preparing for this farewell season because he's not going to stick around if they're lowballing him.
Definitely. Either the Dodgers or the Mets. I can kind of see him fitting in into either one of those rotations. And the big grievance I have, Carlos Rodon was also allowed to walk as well, which is another huge grievance that I have. But they somehow decided to pick up the $16 million option on Craig Kimbrell, which is something that makes me want to drive my head through a wall. So even though it has been just one appearance so far, Craig Kimbrell has not looked good in spring training. And so basically the rationale was that, maybe the White Sox are going to see if Kimbrell's trade value can rise a little bit and maybe shop him, in the first half of the season and see if there's some sort of taker there. I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen. I feel as if this is probably just going to be another $16 million mistake, money that very well could have been reallocated to Carlos Rodon, who had a pretty heavy workload last year. And I guess the whole rationale was that there was issues with the shoulder. A lot of folks were concerned that maybe he might not be as well recovered from TJ as initially expected. The dude threw a no-hitter in May, which is a very early time to do so, especially coming off of TJ recovery so soon. So, I mean, like, once again, he looked pretty good against the White Sox today. I don't know how poetic that can be. I think Eloy took him deep today, though. I didn't look at the details, but anyway, that is just one of the many grievances I have with this team right now. Just money very poorly spent.
And that was 3 hours on grievances with this team right now.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about the grievances part because it reminds me, and Chris and I and Brandon Day from Westby Boys talked about this before. It feels like, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I could be totally wrong. I'm finally with it, but it seems like every year or every so often the White Sox will build up a juggernaut and then decide to go, They'll just we wait for them to fall apart. And then I looked at this tweet today. I wanted to ask your opinion about this because I was looking at the way he was explaining it in terms of helping the White Sox at extreme discount with great production. And he based it off of Zips and streamer productions and used the basic calculation. So in terms of here's some of the names he mentioned, Underpaid and some right here. So I was just wondering, is there some validity to that in your opinion?
Sorry, I'm just reading over here.
No problem.
I can say that both Tim Anderson and Luis Robert were signed to very team-friendly deals. So, yeah, a lot of, especially the star players, in my opinion, are very underpaid. Same thing with Yohan Moncada, Eloy Jimenez. Yeah, a lot of these guys, honestly, are pretty lowballed. Let's see here. I'm like, yeah, Lucas Giolito, especially, I see there. Yeah, a lot of these guys are just vastly underpaid here. See, Garrett Crochet, it was his first full season in the majors last year. All right, dang. Let's see, Crystal, do you have any input here?
Yeah, well, I was going to say Yasmani is definitely underpaid. I get that he's older, but he is the only good catcher on that team right now.
Oops, sorry.
Also,
Now I'm going a little out of hand there. Sorry.
Big contract that the White Sox offered was Yasmani, and that was like right before the 2020 season. And at the time, there was plenty of pessimism, where it's like, oh, the money's not going to be spent. We're going to just have to end up being satisfied with quadruple A players again. And then, lo and behold, the White Sox front office drops the Yasmani bomb. And then a couple of days later, they signed Dallas Keuchel, which seemed like a good idea at the time, but we can always get into that later on. There was a series of free agent signings. And I think soon after that, there was Steve Cishek. That didn't necessarily work out too well either. But otherwise, the acquisition of those names just made things very exciting. And then, of course, in 2020, everything was kind of put onto a hold, like once the pandemic hit. And then, going to 2021, a lot of us were just kind of like, oh no, like we're in a couple of years, we're going to have to worry about Yasmani going back on the free agent market. We're going to have to worry about signing extending Lucas Giolito. We also have to worry about Tim Anderson as well. So there's lots of loose ends in the near future that the White Sox are really going to need to tie up.
Jose Abreu. That's another really big one. Doesn't have a lot left in the tank. He was only signed to 3 years, and that was this. So this would be his last season in that whole.
Is it correct that the White Sox have never done a $100 million contract?
That is correct.
Yeah,
they have never offered a contract over $100 million.
Grandal is the biggest, correct?
Yes, Grandal is the biggest in White Sox history.
Wow, and that's amazing. I mean, it's so interesting that you guys view him as possibly a little underpaid. Yeah, that's the biggest contract they've ever handed out.
Now, presumably
it was so mystifying that they got cheap on Rodon, because I thought his shoulder looked a little creaky last year too, and especially as I listened to Benetti and Stone, they talked about it a lot on broadcasts here. But even then, to just do a 1-year deal if he accepts the qualifying offer, why not? I mean, he pitched to a high level, and if he does leave, you got a draft pick for it, and nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. My big issue with also letting Rodon walk is that leaves the only lefty in the rotation to be Dallas Keuchel. So I was really hoping the White Sox would at least take some sort of chance on another lefty starter. I mentioned on another podcast the other day that I was kind of hoping that the White Sox would take a chance on someone like Yusei Kikuchi, even though he did fall apart in the second half. But Ethan Katz can work magic. Like Ethan Katz can definitely turn some things around. So I didn't doubt that Kikuchi could definitely be rehabilitated. But also, too, I don't think the White Sox would have offered that contract that the Blue Jays offered Kikuchi. But at this point, a lot of us really wanted them to trade for Sean Manaea, and I guess that's still possibly on the table. They will probably want some sort of prospect, like either Sheets or Vaughn even. I might be willing to let go of Sheets. Vaughn, I'm not so sure of.
I wouldn't let go of him.
Yeah. The White Sox farm system is also rated as being one of the worst in baseball. It's actually rated as the worst, I believe, which is also like not great. Like especially if you're trying to acquire arms, but who knows? Maybe they're waiting until Minaya hits the free agent market next season. But at this point, I'm just like, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah, especially on the pitching side of things, the White Sox it's all been bullpen arms in terms of who are ready to develop. You have Jimmy Lambert, and that's, I think, off the top of my head, I can remember off the top that in terms of servable guys, and I think he's 27 though, but he's not really a prospect at this point, right? I mean,
yeah. The White Sox, at least the Charlotte Knights, the White Sox AAA affiliate, they are filled with a lot of quadruple A type 28, 27-year-old guys, like Jimmy Lambert, Yermin Mercedes, those types of dudes who just kind of oscillate back and forth between the big club and Charlotte. So that if that tells you a little bit of the state of what the farm system is like, then I don't know what will. It's not great. It's not great at all.
So, Chris, we'll talk about some of the new White Sox we might as well get some. Hopefully, this is some positivity out of the signings. Chris, you want to go ahead and go over Kelly, Harrison, and bring down the rest of the list?
Well, I mean, I was going to ask. I was trying to think who was going to replace Rodon in the rotation, but you mentioned it's going to be Keuchel, which seems like
a lefty.
Yeah. Kopech is actually technically taking the place of Rodon. So essentially another righty. And so I can tell you my problems. I mean, as much as I love Kopech, I think he's fantastic. I mean, Crystal also really loves Kopech as well for completely different reasons than I do.
I love him for both reasons.
But anyway, Crystal's future ex-husband, Michael Kopech, he only pitched 69 innings last year. Not nice. Nice.
Oh, sorry.
Especially because if he's expected to join the rotation, I don't think he has pitched enough. He too is also coming back from Tommy John surgery as well. So there were plenty of opportunities to get spot starts, plenty of opportunities to have longer relief appearances. He only pitched 5 more innings than Jose Ruiz. Even though Liam Hendricks, I think, pitched the most innings of any White Sox reliever last year, with Kopech just coming right in below Hendricks. But I don't know. If I was Tony La Russa, I would have had Kopech go at least like 90 to 100 innings to properly ramp him up for this year. Mm-hmm. So I really hope his workload is managed well, at least in the first half of the season. So I'm thinking maybe 4 5-inning starts, tops, and then let the bullpen take over. Quick note about the bullpen, though. You guys ever see the meme with like the Lamborghini parked in like right next to the trailer?
Yeah.
So the Lamborghini is essentially the White Sox bullpen, and the trailer is essentially the rest of the team. So maybe that's kind of what they're going for, that they know that they have this shaky rotation beyond Lance Lynn and Lucas Giolito, and just kind of have the bullpen take over from there. So we're going to see Kopech pitch maybe 4 innings. Then after that, we'll see a Joe Kelly come in. We'll see a Craig Kimbrell come in. We'll see a Kendall Griezmann maybe throw an inning or whatever, and then Liam Hendricks.
I'm wondering, and I have no idea of this. I could be so far off; it's not even funny. But do they have the highest paid bullpen or the biggest percentage of
I think so.
Payroll tied to bullpen of any team in baseball?
Sounds that like could be. That sounds. Sure they do. Yeah, they probably do. I don't know if that's true off the top of my head, but that's likely. I think.
It's interesting.
I was gonna ask the exact same question because I think you've got like 40 million tied up in 4 relievers, and Hendricks, Kimbrell, Graveman, and Kelly. That's a lot. And also, you've got a former first rounder in Garrett Crochet, and Kopech was a big trade piece. But I guess if he's moving to the rotation, that's okay. But yeah, it's a lot of resources on the bullpen.
Totally. And not last but not least, we also have Vince Velasquez that was on no one's radar, that no one asked for. So he's assumed to be the swingman. Yes, thank you for that. Yeah.
I still, he had one of the great I don't remember what year was it. 2 years ago when he was with the Phillies, and he was forced into playing left field and made like two diving. It was an awesome night. He made like 2 diving catches and threw somebody out at the plate. But yeah,
It was actually against the White Sox.
Oh well, there you go. Maybe that's why they signed him. They're like, oh, you got to get this guy.
Yeah. They signed him to be Eloy Jimenez's backup in case he decides to run into a wall again. Vince Velasquez made an outfield assist and a diving catch in that same game. I thought that was absolutely wild to see not a position player pitching, but a pitcher playing a position. Like, that was nuts to me. But baseball is wild like that. Oh, here it is.
Oh, it's some insanity going on here. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you for watching on Tiger Minor League Report. So there was one lefty, though, I thought that they should have went after. And I mean, because the Dodgers seemed like they signed everybody, but I thought Andrew Heaney was a good option, too, coming back from the Marlins. I thought he would be there's that throw. Bullet.
Oh, nice. Even though it is Jose Abreu, who is slower than Christmas. I mean, I still think that's still a worthwhile play. Like, still putting a star on it.
Yeah, that's still pretty cool regardless, yeah.
But as a pitcher, he's an older and not as good Ronaldo Lopez. And that is the most frustrating part of that entire signing.
Yeah, it's basically the Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man meme. But they're essentially the same pitcher.
Just age one Spider-Man just a little bit.
Yeah, it's just basically Looper starring Reynaldo Lopez and Vince Velasquez. So it's essentially, instead of like, who was in that movie? Like Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Yeah, there you go. Just replace them with those two.
I really like the way they did Lovett's eyebrows and make it look like Bruce Willis. It almost looked like they taped it all the way with like clear tape, and he was like, yeah. So anyway, but yeah, I thought that there was a lot of guys out there that I thought the White Sox should go after, and I really was surprised they weren't more active in the starting market. And Josh Harrison, who was in Detroit and did absolutely nothing here, so had kind of a career renaissance. And Chris, he was in the Nationals and A's last year. Hit pretty good. I mean, especially in Oakland, which is not a hitter's ballpark at all.
Yeah, that was kind of a solid under the radar signing, really. I mean, they traded away Nick Madrigal, of course, their second baseman of the future, and then who'd they acquire? Was it Cesar Hernandez?
Yes.
Is that right? And that didn't work out so great.
Another underwhelming White Sox move.
A disaster.
But yeah, Harrison's always been like, I remember him being touted as a really great clubhouse guy and just a consummate professional. And like you said, Raj, he had a really nice renaissance after. I think he was really just injured the whole time in Detroit, and it was a terrible team, and everything was bad that year. So it was good to see him come back, and yeah, that could help him. That's one of those moves on the margins that might win him another game or two. That could really keep him from keep the Twins down, if you will.
Yeah, that was a pretty solid one.
Yeah, I agree. The Harrison pickup was probably my second favorite offseason acquisition. The White Sox are very famous for doing these vibes signings where, I mean, I think being a clubhouse guy is really important. I think, just keeping that morale is also very important. But also, too, kind of looking at his defense stats, it just seemed as if he is an average to below average defender. So I was like, what the hell? Like, what are we doing here? So I did see his numbers with Washington, and I was like, all right, I can mess with this. Yeah. And then I saw his numbers in Oakland and was like, So, yeah. I mean, I wanted the White Sox to kind of maybe jump on the Marcus Semien train, bring home an old friend. That didn't happen. But otherwise, I'm just kind of hoping this isn't a lateral move from Cesar Hernandez. Because he was definitely kind of contributed to those bottom of the order doldrums. He was not fun to watch last year.
No, he was so frustrating.
Were either of you surprised they didn't compete for an outfielder like Castellanos or Conforto yet? I suppose they still could if they're not capped out.
Who's going to play right? That's my question.
Adam Engel is going to play right.
Yeah, they're currently looking at a platoon. I think they're doing a Sheets Engel platoon or maybe a Sheets Vaughn platoon.
Okay.
Yeah, Tony La Russa loves his platoons. He loves lefty righty. He loves all that stuff. And I don't know. I agree up to an extent, but I don't know. Right field has kind of been a black hole for the White Sox for like forever. So if anything, I wish they would have taken a chance on somebody. Yeah. My first pick was oh my goodness, Castellanos was absolutely like who I wanted in
Mine
right
too.
field. I mean, average to slightly above average defender, I'm sure. I know he's definitely improved greatly from his days in Detroit. I'm sure you guys can speak a little on that, but otherwise, very underwhelming overall.
And there's a couple of guys in the system right now that, in terms of kind of have a future value under 50, but just kind of curious on your thoughts on one of them being Micker Afalo, who's been in the system forever, and I know he's had a lot of injuries, especially down in Charlotte and in Double A, and then Jake Berger. Seems to be some quote unquote hype around them, depending on publication. So, Chris, I'll start with you in terms of those two names. Are those expected to be any kind of contributor to the White Sox this season?
I definitely think Jake Berger will be. He was pretty good last year. I'm not gonna lie. When he came up, he had some pretty memorable moments. And I am a bit more comfortable with him because we know what we're getting with him. You know, he's great when he needs to be. With Miker, he's been really, flashy in spring training. He's had some really great at bats, but I don't see him, at least not making the team. He might come up in spurts, but I do think Jake Berger is going to be solid, and I think we will see a bit more of Miker, just not as much as. Well, I don't want to say he should be, but I don't think we'll see him as often this season.
Janice, what about you in terms of those two contributing?
Yeah, so Miker's had some really great at-bats, like Crystal mentioned. He's actually kind of created a little bit of a hype train on White Sox Twitter as well. And I don't know, it gets me a little worried when quadruple A players do very well in spring training because people get ideas. And will do things like, oh, well, this person should be in the lineup every day, and then get absolutely mystified when they fall apart in like May or June. And so a perfect example of this from last year is Yermin Mercedes. Was tearing the cover off the ball, like in spring training, as well as in like the first like 6 days of the season. Dude was like, had a ridiculous average. I think like his weighted runs created plus was also through the roof as well. And then, just kind of lost it. Pitchers figured him out, and it probably didn't help that his manager threw him under the bus after he took a friggin' a Willanza Astudillo deep in extra innings. That was entirely a whole mess. So my big grievance, and one of many with the White Sox, is that they invest so much in these prospects who aren't prospects anymore, and then they get burned out, and then they just kind of oscillate between AAA and the big league club. And when, say, folks in the lineup get injured, so like especially last year, a couple of guys went on the shelf. And a lot of these younger guys were asked to step up and contribute. So Jake Berger was one of them. And to Crystal's point, like he did some absolutely great things last year, a really great comeback story as well. Just his first home run was absolutely just inspiring. Like it was absolutely wonderful. And like we saw a video of him playing defense, and he's also a big guy on like social media. He follows like pretty much every White Sox fan and interacts with every White Sox fan too. And I think that's wonderful. I think it's awesome. Great. It's great that the White Sox have a player like that. He's a big mental health advocate as well, and I really appreciate him for that too. A lot of these like these names like Miker. I don't know. It's really frustrating, just mainly because I don't see them lasting with the club long term, or at least contributing long term. But they just hope to get these little spurts of production out of these guys, and then after that, it's like poof, nothing.
I think the same might happen with Yolki too. Yolki says this because he's been playing great during spring training, and I don't think he's ready to come up. And I have this fear that they're going to use and abuse that and then burn him out. And we're back to square one of trying to find his replacement. So they do have a habit of doing that. And it's really frustrating.
There was also a big rumor about Yolki possibly being a trade chip. And I honestly think Rick Hahn is a little bit burned from the James Shields trade from a million years ago. I don't necessarily think he should be, honestly. Not necessarily because, Fernando Tatis Jr. isn't a superstar or whatever. I think he's great. I think he's a wonderful player and I like him a lot. If the White Sox really want to contend, if they want to win now, they have to be willing to let these prospects go in order to acquire arms in the rotation, like people who will actually help. So if the Oakland A's wanted to exchange a Frankie Montas or a Sean Manaea for Yoelqui Cespedes, I am hitting that trade button so damn hard.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Yes, give me.
Goodbye.
I honestly think he's a little bit bitten by that, and I think he probably needs to go to GM therapy to maybe resolve those issues.
Yeah, in terms of even what they have, that's what, as Chris would say, trade chips. Prospects are trade chips, essentially, right, Chris? I mean, you've been saying that since, everybody's been saying that. But
yeah, I mean, I don't know. From the outside looking in, it seems like, and you can't, make all your decisions revolve around prospects, or else you'll be kind of on the fringes of competition forever. But it does seem like that White Sox don't have a lot of regard for any of their prospects. They don't have plans for them. Like Andrew Vaughn begins his big league career in left field, right? Like this was a first base only in college. I mentioned Garrett Crochet earlier. He's in the bullpen. I don't know if the plans were ever to move into the rotation, but if they do, it'll probably be like 3 years later. And it just seems like a lot of times they would be better off trading these guys for big league help. Instead, they kind of get the worst of both worlds, where they get a little bit of production, but out of position and not developed.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Vaughn point is absolutely true. So the White Sox are famous for having a lot of these first base DH type guys in the organization. Vaughn is one of them. And I know, he's a first round draft pick and absolutely just tore the cover off the ball at California. Just fantastic hitter. And of course you draft not for need, but who's good. So that makes perfect sense. I remember when Vaughn was called up. It was during the 2020 season. He really didn't have a place on the team back then. He was just kind of thrown in the lineup. It was kind of, just throw whatever at the wall and see what sticks. That was kind of Ricky Renteria managing right there. But
that's basically what happened to Nick Castellanos when he came up to Detroit.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Almost the same story.
Mm-hmm. So, basically Vaughn was kind of forced to learn another position due to Eloy Jimenez trying to rob a home run during spring training. And to Vaughn's benefit, he did very well. He learned a new position within weeks. He definitely did he do excellently? No. But he did well for someone who was expected to learn that position in a very short amount of time.
I'm surprised that when signing Oscar Colas, who was a pretty good left-handed pitcher in Cuba, they didn't decide to leave him in. And I know that he has said that he wanted to rather hit than pitch, but still, the guy was touching 96, 97 as a lefty, and Chicago right now doesn't really have any left-handed starters in their system. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it just seems like, hey, Claus, we'll give you a little bit of extra money right now. I mean, I know he expected the season. Is he expected to start the season in high A or double A this year?
I thought he was high A, but I could be wrong on that.
Okay.
I think high A. Yeah, I know he's been kind of touted as the Cuban Otani. That's been thrown around quite a bit. There's just been just a lot of hype and whispering on amongst the White Sox insiders about Oscar Colas. I always just try to not get too excited about a lot of these more just hyped under the radar signings, just mainly because Yoelqui Cespedes was also treated the same way. He was kind of looked at as being like the second coming. The second coming of what? I don't know. But they're all just names to get us really excited. And I think I heard Keith Law on a podcast, and I think he said that Cespedes really didn't have too much in him beyond the name recognition. So I don't know, maybe that might be true in the long term. And like Crystal and I have said, he's looked pretty okay so far in spring training. But that's the recurring thing. It's like guys that look okay for short bursts of time and then they fizzle out.
Well, Dylan Cease constantly looks great in spring training, and then mid-season, it's just, where is that guy that we saw just 2 months ago? I mean, he's definitely improved. Ethan Katz has worked wonders on him, but he's one of those players that is consistently amazing in spring training in April, and then you hit June and he's just flatlined again.
Yeah, and he had a lot of in terms of even command. I know his curveball and fastball were his two best pitches, and they seem to be inconsistent with that. So as far as that goes, the White Sox are still, all things considered, before we move on to some Tiger talk, they are considered the second best team in the American League right now in terms of MLB Network and power rankings and whatever all that arbitrary nonsense is. But I'll start with you, Janice, on this in terms of power rankings. Does that mean anything based off of this functionality? Because you guys are really close to the scene, so it's very different than MLB Network. Sometimes serves a lot of bula, and so or I would say mierda, but no, it's just it's a lot of nonsense to it. But in terms of where the White Sox, even in the AL Central right now, Minnesota got better, but not that much better because they still have a starting rotation who I think is just as spotty as the White Sox right now. I think giving up Barrios was, I don't know, I'm always on the fence about why. I know why Minnesota did it, but either way, where do you stand with this power rankings?
Power rankings can be very volatile. I do know at the very beginning of the year, power rankings are typically based on off-season acquisitions, who came, who went. I don't know. I really am reluctant to rank the White Sox very high so early. Just it might be my subjective bias and my general my general disgust at how Rick Hahn and company handled this offseason. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe they will pull some magic out of a hat. Maybe this kind of ragtag a band of misfits will somehow bond together. And I mean, like, I'm talking as if like this is some sort of bottom of the barrel team. They're not. They're honestly not. So definitely please disregard my doom and gloom. The White Sox are still a good team from top to bottom. The lineup is fairly solid, at least until like maybe you get to Josh Harrison. I definitely do not want to just be down on him too much, just mainly because the season hasn't even started yet. But I've just been burned way too much from watching some seasons of bad White Sox baseball and then seasons of good White Sox baseball, but not great White Sox baseball. I'm ready for great baseball. So I feel as if this team is good, but definitely not great. So you still got those guys. I feel as if Luis Robert is going to be fantastic. Tim Anderson is going to be like just balls to the wall awesome as usual. Who else? I really like Yoan Moncada. I know like the fan base can be very frustrated with him sometimes, but otherwise I feel as if he's a otherwise solid hitter. And of course there's Jose Abreu, Yasmani Grandal, whom I cannot throw enough praise at times. And
we love him.
Yeah, love that guy. Love Yasmani. We love him because he gets on base,
Yes.
amongst other and he hits bombs too. Those are the two Yasmani Grandal outcomes, and we love him for that.
He's perfection.
Exactly. Wow. Yeah, but otherwise, this team is good, but I feel as if a couple of other steps could have been taken to make the team great.
So, Crystal, what about you? What are your thoughts of power rankings and the objectivity of them all?
So, as someone who writes weekly power rankings now for 2 sites, because I will be doing them for Pitcher List every once in a while.
Woo!
Nice.
Nice.
I still think that half the time they're a load of crap. I mean, they are, because you just never know, and you're really just kind of going in blind based on who had hot week. But like Janice said, I think White Sox are kind of just. I really think they might finish 3rd this year, and that in their division. I am more afraid of the Tigers right now, actually, than I am the White Sox.
That's true. I actually picked the Tigers as being the greatest threat to the White Sox. In the AL Central.
They will be. So I am really hesitant to say that they're going to have a great year. I don't see them bouncing back and winning the division. It's frustrating because there were just no quality off-season moves. So for that, and for the other teams just constantly building up on what they actually had, it's going to be a frustrating season to watch as a fan, as a person that covers the team, person that has to rank them every week. So yeah, exactly like what Janice said. They're going to be fine, but they're not going to exceed expectations at any point this season.
As far as the Tigers and White Sox go, they meet up on opening day in Detroit on April 8th, the opening day tradition. So that's going to be, as far as I was concerned, I thought that my whole take on, I'll ask Chris and Uper here in a second about what Chicago's, I thought they did on the surface address when they signed all those bullpen arms. I didn't think about it until what Janice said about shortening the games a little bit because they don't have any starter depth at all. But the lack of minor league signings too, like a lot of giving guys an opportunity for cats to work on, because you see it here in Detroit where the Tigers signed. There was one thing about this offseason that Detroit did that I think goes a little bit unnoticed outside of signing Aurelio Rodriguez and among even just the starters. They re-signed. I'm drawing a blank now all of a sudden. Yeah, thank you. And they also signed Drew Hutchison and they signed Peralta back. And these are arms they have some sort of experience with. But Chicago didn't even go after the minor league signings. And those guys, again, some of them are not exactly great, but at least gives you some sort of depth. And that was surprised me the most about the White Sox offseason.
Yeah, I actually wrote a lengthy piece that'll come out either tomorrow or Saturday. I don't remember, but it's just the White Sox have an offseason problem. And it's just addressing how, all of these teams spent so much money to build and build and build, and the White Sox didn't do anything, and they have a habit of not doing anything. So it's going to be frustrating, and I'm just going to just try to grin and bear it.
She's trying to grin and bear it right now on camera. She's like,
oh my God.
She wants to swear really bad. I know maybe she wants to swear. I don't know, but it's like, I don't know. I still think the White Sox are a threat because Tim Anderson loves Tigers pitching. I mean, thank God. In some ways, I know Matthew Boyd is a very popular Tiger, but also thank the Lord he's not with the Tigers anymore because Tim Anderson made him his personal, what. And among all the Tiger killers of them all, Jose Abreu is still ranked among the top 3. He puts up great numbers at Comerica Park, and even at Guaranteed Rate Field, he always hits Tigers well. So until that demon is slain or just done, I'm one of those people that I love the White Sox organization for the fact that they sign a lot of Hispanic players, they sign a lot of the Cubans, and they have a really good pipeline with that and a really good community down there. However, if I think about it from the objectively speaking, I think the Tigers have to do a lot of things right, and we're going to do our season predictions for that a little later. The Casey Mize looked good today, but again, played against a bunch of 4-string Yankees. I mean, Anthony Rizzo was the only regular in the lineup. Everybody else, I didn't know who they were, to be honest. But when Mize Splitter's on, it's a thing of beauty. It's a thing of beauty, and I'm looking forward to what the Tigers have. And even a guy like Miguel Diaz today, who pitched an inning, struck out 3, walked 1. He was hitting 96. And Chris, I was telling you earlier, and Chris, both and I were just saying he's going to make the team. As a non-roster invite, he'll somehow make the team. He's pitched better than a 40-man regular like Brian Garcia, who's looked kind of shoddy. Miguel DePozo looked bad today. But there's a lot of these interesting bullpen candidates right now to take the place of Kyle Funkhauser, who was drafted by the Whites. No, he's drafted by the Dodgers. Sorry, I thought he was drafted by the White Sox. But there's a lot of intriguing arms in camp. But again, as far as division's concerned, about the Twins, I'll ask everybody here: do you think the Twins will surpass the White Sox?
Well, I'm going to jump in quick and say no.
Okay.
I'm going to try to help make our guests feel a little better. I think the White Sox are still the team to beat in the division. I really do. I think they're going to score some runs. We're about 50-something minutes into this podcast, and we haven't even mentioned the guy I would take first if I was maybe Tim Anderson, but Luis Robert. We haven't even mentioned that guy. That is a massive talent. I know he's going to have some growing pains and so on, but boy, that's a kid I think they're going to be able to build around for quite a while. I think if they would have pursued a right fielder, I think they would have been untouchable this year in the division. I really do, because I'm not as convinced the Tigers are going to vault forward as some are. And I think the Twins made a good move with Correa and some others, but I think the White Sox are still a quarter step ahead.
The Twins are clumsy. I will say that. That's why maybe I'm just being really pessimistic with putting them third. But yeah, the Twins are clumsy, and it's going to take a while, I think, for that team to really gel anyway. So that's the one advantage with the White Sox. A lot of these guys have been playing together for a while. Tim Anderson is phenomenal. I mean, offensively, we are great. Defensively is where we make the most mistakes. And when you don't bother to fill right field, you don't have like a really steady second baseman, you don't have a backup catcher, and now you're missing a phenomenal lefty, it's going to sting. But they have a lot of power at bat. And like you said, we have Tim Anderson. He is our, he's our god. He's our next statue. So
Yeah.
I'm not super worried, but I don't think the Twins are actually going to be better. But like I said, I'm afraid of the Tigers this year.
I think the White Sox are basically the American League Phillies, in my opinion. You just got just all of these like just massive bats and like no defense. I think like the Phillies might have Harper and Real Muto as probably like the only 2+ defenders. And on the White Sox, you've got Luis Robert, maybe Grandal. Yoan Moncada is also a really fantastic defender. Tim Anderson has improved greatly in his defense. I know a couple of years ago I would be reluctant to say that, but I feel as if I think he's back in the black in DRS and has been for the past couple of years. But
even Jose Abreu is great. He's
Jose
so
Abreu
slow,
is like one
but
of the
at the
best
same
defenders.
time, you can't beat him.
For absolute sure. But I don't know where I was going with this. Anyway, the Twins. I feel as if like objectively, I love the Correa signing objectively. I feel as if that's a huge upgrade for the Twins over Andrelton Simmons. Like, oh Jesus, who is now with the Cubs. I've got some Cubs takes too that I won't share on this podcast, but all of the Twin starters have ERAs north of 4. That bullpen is also like, I don't know. If I'm a Twins fan, sure, I will be happy about the Correa signings, but it's definitely not enough. So I feel as if the Twins, as well as the White Sox, we're both kind of in the same boat where it's just like, I mean, like, I like this part and this part, but more definitely could have happened. But I agree with Crystal that I feel as if the Tigers are really going to be the thorn in the White Sox proverbial side. So you mentioned Casey Mize earlier. I am very high on Casey Mize.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be like a fantastic talent. He's going to tie White Sox hitters up. I can definitely see that happening. Same thing with Tarek Skubal. I'm also pretty high on him as well. And yeah, those are my limited Tigers takes right there.
So we did get a couple questions on the White Sox. Chris, did you have anything to add? Because I feel bad. This is the least you've talked in quite a long time. And so.
No, it's all good. It's we have very interesting guests who are knowledgeable.
Yes,
Let them talk. I will just say this. I think there's a little bit of grass is greener going on here. Maybe from my perspective too, because I still feel like the White Sox are the class of the division. I think they have the best roster in the division by a fairly wide margin. Tigers fans don't want to hear about Dylan Cease's issues because he absolutely owns the Tigers. He is. I was looking at his stats. I don't know these off the top of my head. I look him up. He's had 9 starts against the Tigers. He is 8-0 with a 2.1 ERA against the Tigers. He has no more than 3 wins against anybody else.
Janice, I thought you were going to do a spit take. Oh, I thought you had water in your mouth. I thought you were going to do a spit take on that when you said that.
You swallowed it too soon.
I'm around too many electronics, so I would like not want to do that. So here's an imaginary spit take.
Yeah. I guess what would frustrate me as a White Sox fan is to me this roster seems very close. Like this is a very, very close to being an AL championship contending roster, World Series winning roster, and they didn't take those next steps to go for it. Like you see teams like the Mets, they went for it. Teams like the Dodgers, they'll go for it. And the White Sox are just like, maybe some more bullpen. I don't know. And it feels like there are 1,000 different ways to get frustrated by your teams, and that one feels like a real bummer to me because like they're still good enough to give it a shot, but it's like and who knows, maybe they'll just plan like you guys were saying earlier. Maybe they'll go after Mania later. Maybe it's cheaper. Maybe they'll make some big trades or something like that. But yeah, it feels a little bit frustrating, or I would be a little bit frustrated, I think, if I were a White Sox fan, that they didn't take that next step.
I think they are just okay with making it in the division, clinching that division, and then just not going any further than that, because fans are still going to show up and they're still going to be hyped because you've got a great team on paper. But I think they're just okay with being a little above mediocre at this point.
Especially when you look, you're absolutely right about the division, Crystal, because the Guardians haven't done nothing. Zero.
Yeah.
They didn't sign anybody, and the Kansas City signed Zach Greinke, but this is not prime Zach Greinke. This is Zach Greinke at the twilight of his career. And so there is the Royals. I mean, they have Bobby Witt Jr. though. You can get excited about that. Definitely. And the Royals have some really young pitching prospects, and they might be a couple years away. The Tigers, I look at the Tigers situation right now with a rotation that with Rodriguez added to it. You have Akil who's having an amazing spring again. He's off to a great start. That gives me hope. The Javier Baez signing, that was something where Tiger fans have this thing about like, we sold for him instead of Correa. I'm sorry. Do you not want a defensive shortstop? I know he does strike out a lot. I get it. But good Lord. I mean, the thing that really makes me mad about this whole entire season is they spent a lot of money. I know they could have spent more, but I don't know what else you want. The Tigers, this is the most active offseason they've had in like 5 or 6 years. And they've been able to address, they got Andrew Chafin. I mean, they've been able to address the bullpen, they addressed the rotation. And you guys, and again, there's even Michael Padilla. He was sitting around. I'm surprised the White Sox didn't go and make an effort. I know he's not going to be, back end rotation, but glad the Tigers signed him. He's going to be serviceable. And again, this is the part about Tiger fans that are just this griping about not getting Correa. Get over it. Seriously, get over it. I'm so sick of hearing about it. Honestly, like the season has to be gone. And I know what's going to happen on Tigers Twitter. Every day we're going to post a stat that Correa is better than Baez. Shut up. Shut up. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. For once, just root for this damn team and be happy about it.
And you still have quality in Javier
Yeah.
Baez. Yeah, he strikes out, but he's not bad by any stretch of the imagination.
I know, like he's. I mean, just defense alone, I feel as if that's a huge upgrade.
Yeah, comparatively speaking, could I do another year Willie Castro? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No offense to Willie Castro, couldn't do it. I mean, Zach Short struggled a little bit too as well. So I don't understand this. All right, so already now. Okay, so we do have some questions. We got quite a bit of questions from the audience, and here we go on this one. Is especially for you two. Here I go with, and this is gonna take me a minute. So this is from Charlie Pickering on Twitter. This one might be the hardest one he has sent me. Here we go. Can Lance Lynn legit and length lacking lineups? Or does La Russa letting Lynn lob long lengths led to Lynn losing labrum longevity?
I
that one
love.
made my brain hurt.
I think I quote tweeted that question a little while ago. I absolutely love it. So I'm going to translate that, and I'm assuming that he's wondering if Lance Lynn is going to pitch like 180 plus innings this year. He did have some injury issues, I think around August, September. He had a barking knee. I feel as if that's going to be something that might need to, maybe the White Sox should keep an eye on that. But otherwise, the White Sox traded for Lance Lynn for the purpose of that he can go deep into games, that he can eat innings. So it was definitely a win now type move for the White Sox. So yeah, if Lynn can keep his pitch count low, like he has prior, yeah, he can absolutely just eat some innings. I know generally workloads have been like pretty light for most pitchers across the league. But yeah, I definitely think that Lance Lynn can be one of those guys that goes 180-ish innings. I know he's entering his age 35 season. Definitely got to watch out for age regression, injury. That definitely will possibly be a detriment. But otherwise, I love Lance. I love my large adult, like just like fat, like many fastball type throwing. I don't like calling him my son. He's only like a year younger than me, and I feel
he's my age.
Yeah. Typically, I'll refer to players as like my large adult son, and yeah, Lance is I can't call him that. Maybe
he's
Lucas,
your lovable cousin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he is the cousin that I grew up with. Yeah, that is just a year younger than me that I used to pick on for being smaller than me until he was bigger than me, and then I couldn't pick on him anymore. But yeah, Lance, I think, is going to be a solid number 2. Definitely expect some mid-3 ERA ball from him. Yeah, and to continue to be an innings eater. There he is. There's Lance. Love him.
I swear to God, he looks more and more like Lamar Hoyt.
He does.
Yeah,
I see it.
That's uncanny.
This is and this like right here. Like I look at this one right here. This picture. Well, I'm clicking on the wrong screen, but this picture right here, and was the other one I just saw that in terms of that looks like him. Could totally see him rocking this like.
Oh yeah,
right there. That's total Lance Lynn. If they brought these jerseys back, which I hope they.
Chris Sale's gone, so they can bring him back.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Even right here. That's like the gold chain and everything like that. Perfect Lamar Hoyt.
Carlos and Lance Lynn had a baby. He's got a Carlos face.
Maybe. I think Lance Lynn could definitely play Lamar Hoyt in a movie. Maybe.
Good.
If Lance decided to go into acting.
I think he should.
No, it's uncanny to me. So here's another question we have on the White Sox, and this is from one of our favorite listeners out there, Deadly Ninja Bees. If Dylan Cease pitched every game against the Tigers, is he a Hall of Famer? Also, second question, follow up. This is for everybody. Which is more painful, watching Willie Castro field or stepping on a Lego?
I'm going to go ahead and let Crystal field the Dylan Cease question.
I can. Look, I don't think he even has a shot in it, to be completely honest with you. But I do very much enjoy this whole him destroying Tigers constantly with his pitching, because hey, if you're really good in one place, then let's just keep playing you there and let's just start you. Like, can you start the entire series kind of thing? But even then, no offense, but the Tigers aren't always known for quality.
That's right.
So I don't think he would be Hall of Fame worthy in that situation.
I also think the confidence aspect is really good too. Like, especially if you have like a good outing, that momentum kind of carries over into your next start. I'm all of
him.
Yeah, I kind of wish there was some sort of measurable metric for like vibes and confidence and swagger and all those things, but there isn't. But I'm sure it's definitely a thing that players think about.
So the other two questions come from our Tigers Discord. By the way, if you have not joined the Discord, I forgot to put in the description last week, but that's my bad. But if you want to join the Tigers Discord, we have one during game day that you can talk in the chat, and also we have a regular one. And I like the fact that we keep it douche or asshole free. So it's kind of like, because I think sometimes Reddit becomes like this really strange gatekeeper like mentality. And for us, the Discord, I started the Discord so that way people could talk Tigers and have a good experience with it. And so a lot of the people talking there are really nice. So check out the Discord, and I'll put the link in the description. We got two questions from there. One from I'm Eating Nachos, aka Matt. How many nightly beers will La Russa have, especially when Kimberly is on the mound?
Kimberly.
I lost it when I saw that question earlier.
Yeah, that's a good question. Oh my goodness. I think the better question would be like, how many beers will I have?
Exactly. Exactly what I was about to say.
And then this is a good. I thought this was a really good question too. This came from Shine. Have expectations for Andrew Vaughn have been lowered? Where do you guys see his future offensive capability?
That was a good question. I'll jump in first, Jonas, and then you take the lead. But I don't think it's been lowered at all. I think for someone who has never played an entire season like that, and for him to only kind of start getting sore at the very end of it and just playing how he did, becoming this really exciting, fun to watch player just right in front of our eyes, that was fun. And I think he can carry on. I think he's just that much of a quality player. Like he's one that I would probably not agree to trade off for someone, just because he is so good for being his first year in, for never playing 162 games until, last season, and just for what he did for the White Sox just last season. I think he's incredible, and I think they might even be higher standards this year, because now that he's got one season under his belt like that, they're going to be like, well, what else can he do? He played like 7 positions last year. So what can this kid do? So I think we're all, as a fan base, I think a lot of people are still really high on Andrew Vaughn.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty high on him as well. My big issue with him last year was that he just completely was mystified by right-handed pitching. 610 OPS against righties last year. Woof. Let's see. There's something in Baseball Reference that's covering up something else I want to tell you about. Oh, well, Baseball Reference is being a jerk. But anyway, so far in spring training, he's been looking pretty great. So far, he's got a 705 OPS, so maybe like okay-ish. But oh no, wait, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Whoops. Oh my God, Baseball Reference, you're killing me here. Yeah, he's looked pretty good in spring training so far. The fan base is still pretty high on him. Yeah, he was drafted in the first round for many reasons, like I mentioned before. Was absolutely fantastic, and I think he was like a Golden Spikes winner or something.
He was, yeah,
something along those lines. So he's been hyped up for many years. He was called up and brought directly to the majors just in a shortened, weird 2020 season. I don't think I necessarily agree that he needs some time in AAA to kind of like rediscover hitting righties. I feel as if he's going to learn anything, he needs to do so with the big league club. Because if he's sent back to Charlotte, he's going to absolutely mash. If he's sent to AA, he's going to mash there as well. So I think any growth that Andrew Vaughn needs to do definitely needs to be with the big league club. But yeah, like Crystal said, I would be very reluctant to let him go. Just mainly because, yeah, if he went to Oakland, I can just absolutely see him decimating the AL West and that pitching out there. But other than that, I even though there was some frustration with him not being able to really figure out right-handed pitching, I feel as if he'll work that out.
I think sending him down would be demoralizing too at this point, because he did such a phenomenal job last season.
For sure.
Despite not figuring out righties, he was still amazing. So I think it would just be demoralizing.
Not to mention, he was really pressed into duty. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't it kind of, in terms of him in the outfield, it was kind of like a last minute decision?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, for him to step in like that, that's really impressive. And as far as having kind of the young talent is concerned, there's a drop off after Vaughn in terms of the farm system and somebody who's ready. So I wouldn't want, if I was a White Sox fan, I wouldn't want that trade to happen either, because you're trading away any real depth. So,
sure.
We did have some questions in the YouTube channel, and this was D from Detroit. Do you think the Tigers will really bring top two prospects north on opening day and lose a year of service time? Hubert, I'll start with you.
Well, as I said before, if this was a couple of years ago, I would say absolutely you should leave them in the minors for 10 days and bring them up and gain the extra year of service time. Now they put some things in play where, you can possibly pick up draft picks down the road if they finish high in voting for Rookie of the Year and so on. Even though it's a strong rookie class, look on paper, I think that raises the likelihood that they're going to go with these guys on opening day if they earn it this spring, and certainly they're off to a very good start. I have a hunch Detroit will put them in the opening day lineup if they stay healthy here over the next few weeks.
Chris, what about you?
Yeah, I think this is a situation where AJ Hinch has a lot of sway here, and I think he's definitely a guy who wants the best 26, I guess 28 now. I did have my conspiracy theory when they announced the 28-man roster expansion. I thought that we could see a situation where they, ostensibly the expanded rosters are to help keep the pitchers' arms fresh or whatever. So,
continue, Chris. It's your
I could. As it stands now, Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson are not on the 40-man roster, so the Tigers would have to open up 2 spots for them. They can do that easily by putting Jake Rogers and Spencer Turnbull on the 60-day IL. But what they could also do, if they wanted to, was put two kind of journeyman veteran bulk relievers on the 40-man, say Chase Anderson and Drew Hutchison, to start the year. And that gives them a little bit more time to look at, Willie Castro at second base and Victor Reyes or Daz Cameron in the outfield. And then once the rosters contract again to 26, okay, they DFA the journeyman, send Castro and Reyes back down to the minors and bring up their prospects, 3-4 weeks into the season. And what do you know? You've got an extra year of service time for both of them. And you could justify it in a couple different ways. But again, I don't think they will do that. I think they would have a few years ago, but I think AJ Hinch is all about winning every single game he can, and probably wouldn't put up. I think he has a lot of sway. Basically, he's going to be the one making the decision, I think, at the end.
At the end of the day, though, if they do play the service time game and keep them in the minors for 8 games, which is basically all it turns out being is 8 to 10 games, I will never say a bad word about it, and they'll get creamed for it on Twitter and amongst a lot of fans. But I think it's, in the end, the extra year is more valuable. But I agree with you. I think they'll be there opening day.
Yeah, I think so too. And there's a reason for Riley Green. to me, I've been saying this the entire time, and I'll stick with it. He is probably one of the best outfielders on the team. In terms of there's such a drop off in terms of outfield talent on the Tigers right now. If you look at, I mean, Daz Cameron is sure, but he's kind of right now at a point maybe around fourth outfield status. You look at Derek Hill. Derek Hill gets injured quite a bit, but he's an exciting player to watch. But he's not Riley Green. I mean, Riley Green and what he did last year between Erie and Toledo is something that we haven't not seen around here in a long time for his age. I mean, this is a guy who is just a phenomenal talent, and same thing with Spencer Torkelson. He jumped 3 levels last year. We've seen a lot of things last year in the minor leagues. As long as I've been watching this team, we've never seen before. So I think there's no reason to keep him down there. None. I mean, I think that a guy like the signing of Quincy Nevenport, Nineport, or however you say his name, is, as Jay Markle said on Twitter, is a possibility that he takes over for Spencer Torkelson at first base in Toledo, because the Tigers don't really have any necessarily first baseman options at the moment. So that would make total sense. But as far as, again, even with Ryan Kryler, because I know that comes up in conversation recently, I think Kryler's going to spend some time in Toledo because they're going to see what they have they have to figure out what to do with Paredes too. So there's a lot of decisions the Tigers in a good way. I mean, the Tigers to me have some good problems to have, and no offense to the White Sox, but it's kind of nice to have some options. And it's just, especially during the season when as far as pitching goes too as well. There is a couple more questions. There's one. Oh, was this one? Does Mickey bat 5th this year? I asked everybody that question. With Torkelson, I think theoretically with Torkelson in the lineup.
5th or 6th, I don't know. Yeah, something like that. I haven't really put together the lineup in my head. I assume the top is going to be some Robbie Grossman, Akil Baddoo, Javi Baez, Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, probably in some capacity. But then there's Candelario too. So yeah, 5th, 6th, 7th. I don't know. It depends on what Mickey, I don't think Mickey particularly cares anymore. He probably would like to bat clean up forever, but I think he understands that he's not that guy anymore.
I just think he wants to win flat out. I think that's only the case with that. Uper, anything before we move on with the last question?
Well, it's interesting that this is the first year it matters, right? The last few years when he's been struggling and they've had him batting 3rd or 4th, the team was woeful anyway. So you just let him have that honorary position. And if it costs a win or two, who cares? But now with the extra playoff spot and the team hopefully on the upswing, it matters where he bats. And if he's getting that extra AB a game in lieu of somebody who might be a more dangerous hitter these days. So hopefully AJ Hinch is the kind of guy who can have that conversation with him and be realistic and say, you are not a 4-hole guy anymore. You're a 7-hole guy on this team. And you got to believe Mickey's realistic enough to accept it. We hope he is. He doesn't seem like a bad guy in that respect. So it's just a matter of this year it matters, and hopefully Hinch is the guy to make it happen.
Yeah, as far as it goes, I like his attitude in camp. It's not the quote unquote best shape of his life, and he said about having Torque kind of passed and torch down, and I'm really excited to see that because for Miggy's kind of a very classy player, and a lot of guys like him in the clubhouse because he keeps it loose, and you don't always have to leave being a stern type person, which I've always never understood that anyways as a stereotype, because he's not about being a leader. He just does his thing, and I think that's cool with a lot of people. So he makes a lot of the players feel comfortable. And the last question comes from Nick Spillane on Twitter, one of our longtime, he's an OG listener. So Dingler played outfield at OSU prior to catching. Would the Tigers ever consider utilizing him in the outfield similar to Haas, with Barnhart and Rogers bearing changes in the fold for the future? That gives the Tigers a lot of flexibility. I kind of answered this on Twitter, but I would like to hear your thoughts on this, both gentlemen. And if you guys, and Janice and Crystal, if you have anything to chime on, by all means.
Well, I will say this, that I think, a lot of times when you see a catcher get moved out into the field, it's because his bat is so advanced that they just don't want to bother with him developing the catching skills. Like we saw that with Bryce Harper way back in the day and Will Myers, and you could see it with Tyler Soderstrom or the A's now that they traded for Shea Langoliers. But I think with Dingler, what they kind of like about him is that they think his athleticism will actually make him a very good catcher defensively eventually. And he's got a good bat, but it's probably not the sort of thing that you need to rush to get in the field. And it's like his value is going to come from being that above average defensive catcher with solid, possibly above average offensive ability. So, maybe down the line in a few years, they could do that if they have a couple other catchers they really like and they want Dingler's bat in there every day. But I think the goal with him is to just, get him to the point where he can be a big league backstop. And he's fairly close, but there's still a lot of finer points to work on. We thought Jake Rogers was supposed to be an elite defender. And when he came to camp, AJ Hinch was like, man, he does everything wrong. It's like, oh, all right. There's a lot more to this than we realize.
Oh, we think last question. I forgot. This was actually, I think we answered earlier. I would feel much better. This is from Ryan Sheedy. I would feel much better about the team adding another outfielder. And he mentioned Confolio. Any chance we could still sign an outfielder before the season?
Well,
he's talking about the White Sox, right? He's talking about the White Sox, not the Tigers, right?
He's from Michigan, but I'm gonna go with the White Sox on this.
I think that might be universally applicable to both of our teams, honestly.
Yes.
I've heard some rumors about the reasons why Conforto hasn't signed yet. I don't know if that's true. I do know that, some teams care about vaccination status, others don't. I know that the White Sox are a team that cares. So I'm not sure if that has affected anything. I, for one, think the White Sox are done. I think they are done adding to their roster. I do not see them adding any other external pieces to this roster. I think they're done for now. I don't know. Kind of looking forward to the trade deadline already. They were active at the trade deadline last year with mixed results, but otherwise, I feel as if anything later on will have to be considered, maybe June, July.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I'm surprised. I am surprised he's not signed, but then again, what was the shortstop Trevor Story?
Yeah,
also they put that provision in there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because he was on the fence about getting vaccinated for quite a while, and then he finally decided that he was going to, and then boom, he lands with the Red Sox. So that's another strange variable that definitely has factored into many conversations, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right, so before we get out of here, I want you both to promote what you guys have going on or coming out this week. So Crystal, you mentioned you have an article that's coming out tomorrow. Was there anything else you had wanted to promote?
Well, obviously, I will start to really kick up on Pitcher List and Southside Sox. I do a lot of the 6-pack of stats and then kind of more heartwarming stories over there sometimes. And then I just have a lot of content that'll be coming out from Pitcher List kind of from April on. So just stay tuned to those two spots.
Heck yeah.
And vote for me tomorrow, please, in the 108 poll.
Yeah, we'll definitely be putting that link. We'll be sharing that link on our description. Janice, what about you?
So I will be contributing bi-weekly. Actually, no, that's incorrect. That's 2 times a week. That's not bi-weekly. To NBC Sports Edge. So on Tuesdays, I release a daily dose column, which basically breaks down all of the action from around the league. And I'll also be picking up the week that was, which essentially is my column that wraps up, guess what? The week that was. So it's from a fantasy perspective. So you'll probably hear me say things like, oh, well, you should pick up so-and-so, or you should drop so-and-so, or so-and-so is injured, or so-and-so is healthy again. So that's kind of the angle there. I am doing my weekly show on the Chicago Sky every Tuesday night at 5:30 Central. So that's always a fun thing to do. Before the season starts, we've been doing a lot of March Madness coverage. So we've just been talking a lot about women's basketball. So as someone who has never watched college women's basketball, at least before this year. I am absolutely obsessed now. And hopefully now that I am totally into it, I can lure others to be just as obsessed as I am. Other than that, I will be pinch hitting at Southside Sox here and there. So I'll be writing plenty of six-pack of stats type stories, as well as fun human interest, tug at your heartstrings type stuff too. But otherwise, I am just perpetually busy and appearing on podcasts here and there. I think this is the 4th podcast I've been on in like the course of a week. So that
Nice.
We're honestly grateful. I know you both guys do an excellent job. You guys are both extremely busy and with other stuff too as well. And we thank you for your time. And the only question I had for you both, because you guys do fantasy, does it bug you when people come up to you and go, "Oh, I know you're right about baseball, but you can give me some advice on my fantasy team, because I got the situation," and they go on this long diatribe. You're like, "Shut up. I don't want to talk about baseball. I'm trying to drink a beer or a glass of milk or whatever." Does that happen often? Because like that somebody there's somebody at my work all the time, like, the Tigers. I'm like, okay. And then I'll start going into it. And now every day now he's like, "Hey, did you watch the spring training yesterday?" I'm like, "Yes, I did." So what'd you think of the? I'm like, dude,
I don't necessarily get fantasy questions. I just get really oddball questions, as if like I work at the White Sox front office. Like somebody was like, "Do you think Jerry's gonna sign this person? Do you think Jerry's gonna spend money?" And I was like, "Bro, I am not on their payroll. I barely get paid as is in my respective field. Like, but I don't know." Also, I forgot. My friend Bailey and I are actually going to be hosting a weekly podcast that's going to drop Sundays. We're going to start it. We've yet to name it, but it's going to drop Sundays starting April 3rd. And we're kind of doing what Janice does, like a week that was, just kind of reviewing different things throughout the week that happened. It'll be on YouTube. It's through Pesky Report, because she is a Red Sox person. So we're going to just cover baseball in general every single Sunday evening. So I'll keep you updated on that, because like I said, we don't have a name. We're a little behind, but we're doing it.
I get the same questions as you, actually. My family, for whatever reason, just always like they think I work for the White Sox, and I have to correct them every time. No. I work for just this like handful of multiple media outlets. I don't have a tea time with Rick Hahn. I am not, Facebook friends with Jerry Reinsdorf. No, I am definitely not an insider. But other than that, yeah, usually when, say, acquaintances find out that I'm a baseball writer, I will usually get questions like, "Oh, so do you know so-and-so and so-and-so?" And it's usually just like people like, I don't know, like Aaron Judge and like who else? Shohei Ohtani. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Yeah. I actually am. Yeah, we're going to brunch tomorrow morning.
Some mimosas and some bacon battered pancakes. There's a place by my house that does a fantastic brunch. But thank you so much. Again, we really appreciate you guys coming on, and we'll be plugging everything. The Section 108 tournament that is going on. Go on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, we retweeted from the Tigers Radio Pod account. We'll be tweeting from our respective accounts. So please vote for Crystal. Keep that going. It's really fun. And we'll be back next week. We'll be talking Royals with Max. This will be the 4th time he's on with us. We're talking Royals, and then I'm trying to book a couple people for the Guardians. We'll see what happens. And so we'll see you next week. And for anybody that's going out there for opening day, Tigers and the White Sox, please do not be douches to White Sox fans. I know White Sox fans are kind of abrasive towards Tiger fans, as I've experienced that firsthand. But that's just. But again, I mean, I'm wearing a Tigers jersey and I'm walking around, and it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Beef. That's what's gonna happen. But either way, it's good to talk to you again, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Absolutely. Always love chatting with you guys. So
yeah,
Thank
ditto.
you.
All right.
It's good to